Great to talk with you. I know we're in some crazy times, but you have a song called "The Wall Will Fall" that sort of addresses what's going on with these crazy times. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Because I understand it sort of almost kind of came together accidentally.
Yeah, it was kind of a joke. It started out as a joke. Vance DeGeneres, who I've known for a few years, I stole an idea from him, and he found he started out with like how to play the guitar in 60 seconds and kept getting interrupted. So I stole that idea. I tried to teach people how to play Jesse's Girl in 60 seconds, and stuff would always happen, like earthquakes and eclipses of the sun. So I never got to do it. But and he saw that, so he said, "Let's do something together." So he said, "Why don't we do like a songwriting thing online? How to write a song with a partner in 60-second increments." So it started out totally as a joke, and having fun and giving people something to laugh at, and it involves sock puppets and all kinds of weird things. And in the end, we actually got a good song out of it, and we got a lot. I got a great video cut together. And it's doing very well.
I have a couple friends in that video, Lori Majewski and Mark Pittman from SiriusXM. I was supposed to send a video in, and I missed the deadline. But I'm talking to you now, so I guess we're on video together now. But I didn't get to be in your video. But a lot of famous people got to be in the video. I'm only listing a few names, but like Kate Pearson and Fred Schneider from B-52s and Richard Marx and Claudio from Coheed and Cambria, and Linda Blair, and Paul Stanley, and Ellen DeGeneres, of course, and Andy Cohen. How did you crowdsource this all-star video?
I actually threatened them that if they didn't do it, I'd be sending someone around to their house and to breathe on them or to give them a hug. So they freaked out and said, "Oh no, we'll be there." No, they're all friends, friends or friends of friends, and everyone understood what it was for, because it's for any money that it makes goes to feeding America. It's not nothing goes to us, and we did it for that reason, and also to give people some fun. And I think the video kind of captures the whole spirit of the song. We had a great editor, and I wanted it to look like a Zoom session, and then end up with like a million squares, and you see everybody. I mean, you got to watch it like 10 or 15 times to catch all the celebrities, but there's also a lot of great friends and some nieces and nephews, and everybody we could round up.
Is it too late to edit me in if I send the video in? Just kind of put me in one of the squares, just like this. I'll visualize.
I know. I got a couple of emails after, because it was really fast. I mean, once the song was written, I recorded my part here in my studio, which is just acoustic guitar, click track, and a vocal, and then sent it around to all my friends who had their own studios. Matt Bissonette, who plays with Elton John, Greg Bissonette, who plays with Ringo, Brett Tuggle, who played with Fleetwood Mac, all these great players, because no one's doing anything. I said, "Hey, you want to play it out on our song?" So everyone did it, and so it was recorded in isolation, and the videos were done in isolation, because everybody had to do a selfie and send it in.
Well, on the subject of isolation, you've been really frank for years about your mental health struggles and issues. You wrote about it in your autobiography. You've talked about it in other interviews, and that's really become like a hot topic in general right now, because a lot of people are struggling right now with being home, being isolated from family and friends, not, everything that's going on, the news cycle. Like, how are you coping right now with what everything's going on?
I'm keeping myself so busy, I don't have time to think about being depressed. There were a couple of days where I wasn't doing something, and I started to feel really bad. My depression isn't caused necessarily by things that happen, although there are real things that can actually get you depressed. Mine is more, I'll wake up one morning and I'll just have it. So that's a bit of a bitch, but it certainly doesn't help being isolated, especially people who have no family. I know a lot of people actually who are just in apartments by themselves, or they can't go out. and we are we are communal animals. We need others. So it's so basically what I do. I've been in the studio a lot, been recording some funny things. I started out with a video of human touch, about no human touch, and had all friends on it. We just did one called Glove Somebody, based on Love Somebody, one song, and did the thing with Vance, which we're going to do a second season now. I've been doing teach people how to play Jesse's Girl in 60 seconds. I've been doing songs just acoustically in here and just putting them out. So I've been basically living in my studio.
Well, tell me more about the sort of Weird Al treatment you've given Human Touch. And I knew about Human Touch, but I didn't know about Glove Somebody. That one's a new one to me. Tell me about a little bit more about those.
That's my favorite, because it actually has our dog singing along with, which was really singing. You can see it on my Instagram, whatever, anything like that. It's not on YouTube. It's just on my Instagram, my website, all that kind of stuff, at Rick Springfield. Actually, a fan who I actually know, who's a fan, a friend and a fan, sent in the idea. She said, "What about Glove Somebody?" So I thought that's actually really clever. So I wrote some lyrics for it, and we added everybody in a Zoom thing, and it's out there somewhere on the internet.
I'm trying to think of other songs of yours that would work for this. Jesse's Mask. I wish that I had Jesse's Mask. I don't know. There's got to be.
I'll put it there. If anyone's got any great ideas on how to do a parody on one of my songs, I'll gladly do it.
I'll give you that one. I don't know how good an idea that was, but you're free to take it if you want. Well, you mentioned dogs. We were talking about dogs before this interview even started, about your dog and your famous. I mean, your breakthrough album here in the States was Working Class Dog, and I feel like I maybe have talked to you about this before, but can we talk about the dog? I think his name was Roy. What was his name?
Lethal Ron. Lethal Ron.
Ron. So
yeah.
tell me about Ron. He's one of the most famous rock and roll dogs. I know you're a real big dog person.
Yeah, I was actually breaking up with a girlfriend before I started dating a girlfriend that became my wife, and we were still living together in a house because neither of us could afford to live separately. So it was pretty damn stressful having broken up and still live together. But she got a boyfriend and then started to go over to his place, and she called me and said, "I just found this dog. I picked this dog up. It was being almost hit by cars in a library parking lot. It looked all dirty, and so I threw him in the back of my car, and he's in the garage of the house if you want him." So I go home and I open up the garage to this house, and this little black and white bull terrier comes running sideways at me, wagging his tail. And it was love at first sight. I mean, he was my guy, and the reason I used him was because I don't like photos of me, so I thought I'm going to put my dog on the cover. And I just joined General Hospital, which at that point was the most popular show on television. Just for that summer, for some reason, it became the show everybody was talking about. I just happened to be on it at that point, and the record company is going, "Wait, you're on the most popular show on TV, but you want your dog on the album cover?" So I had to arm wrestle them for that one. I finally showed them the photo, and they went, "Oh, I get it." And it actually was nominated for a Grammy. So my boy did well.
Why didn't you like photos of yourself? Because without trying to embarrass you, whatever. I mean, you're known for being a heartthrob. You're known for being a good-looking guy. Like, I would imagine it would be not a daunting experience to have one's photo taken when, you're considered a good-looking guy. Why didn't you like that?
Because I don't consider myself that.
Do you not?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know anybody who goes, "Man, I love looking at photos of myself." I mean, everybody, we've lived with ourselves all our lives. And, there are a lot of things about ourselves, our faces, whatever we don't like. And, I don't know. I mean, I'll see a good photo and it'll be okay. But I don't know. I'm just, it's always seemed kind of egotistical to have like a big photo of yourself on the front of your album. Now it doesn't matter because album covers are this big. Yeah. But back when they were, this, I don't know. It was weird to me. Anyway, and I was walking along the street with Ronnie, my dog, and a couple of girls were walking towards me, right? So I kind of, get ready to kind of say, hey, girls, ignore totally and go, oh, look at that dog. He's so cute. So then that was when I decided I'm going to put him on the cover.
So you had him on 2 covers. I know you had him on at least 2. You had him on Working Class Dog and Success Hasn't Spoiled Me Yet. I've always wondered, how did you get him to wear the clothes, the tuxedo? Because he he wore them well, but like some animals, they're not having it when you try to put him in clothes and pose them. He
was a champ. I don't know how we got around to it. For Working Class Dog, I had to go buy the shirt myself. For Success Hasn't Spoiled Me Yet, we actually had enough money to have somebody make him a shirt that fit him. But I walked into a big and tall man's store. I don't know if anyone remembers them. It was for bigger guys, and I needed a shirt for Ronnie, and I said I need a white button-down shirt. And he said, what size neck? And I measured his neck. I said 18 inches or 20 inches or something. He had a big thick neck. And he goes, well, what size sleeve? And I said, it doesn't matter. and he looked at me like, what? So because I had to cut the sleeves or fold the sleeves up because his arms are about this long. But yeah, and he was cool with it. I mean, he sat with that. It was like a 2-hour photo session. Of course, I had cookies, up here saying, "Come on." But the one in the limo, he was probably pretty hip to it by then. So
he was getting used to the attention from the ladies by then, because
those poodles either side are both male too, by the way.
Ooh, that was groundbreaking.
I know, it was very and we had to take them separately because Ronnie probably would have torn those poodles a new one. So we took Ronnie, and then this is before Photoshop, when you had to actually cut it out and stick it in, and so the poodles were taken separately.
Did he have his own fan base?
We actually my money manager at the time made me insure him, because he was sure someone was going to steal him and hold him for ransom, because he was, because everybody knew him. I mean, I've been driving down the street with him sitting in the car, and people would be pointing at him and, walking down the street, and people would recognize him. So they actually made me insure.
Did you bring him on tour or anything like that? Was he part of your entourage?
No, I brought him on stage one time. Was I think our first show at the Santa Monica Civic, when Jesse's Girl first broke. And he didn't like it. All the yelling and the screaming, and so I didn't do it again.
Would you say he or other pets you may have had, other dogs you may have had, were like a support animal for you? Because a lot of, again, going back to what I was asking before about depression, mental health, especially right now, a lot of people are turning to pets for comfort. Actually, one of the few good things that's coming out of this is the shelters are emptying out. Everybody's adopting dogs.
I can I know. You mentioned Linda Blair before. I've been friends with Linda for 40 years, and she has an amazing rescue called Linda Blair World Heart. If anyone wants a rescue, she's got the most amazing dogs. So yeah, if you want you want a companion during this lockdown, there's no better companion than a dog.
So how did Ron, or in general, how have dogs helped you through the whatever dark times you've had? Have they been helpful to you in that way?
Oh, absolutely. I had my second one after Ronnie passed away was Gomer, and I would get depressed, and I'd just go on and lie. He had a big bed, and I'd go and lie in the bed with him and just hold him, and it absolutely helped. I called them Prozac on legs.
Prozac on legs. I love that. You mentioned Linda Blair, didn't you guys? You dated in the 70s, right? For a little while.
Who, me and Gomer?
No, you and Linda Blair.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it true that she's the one that got you into acting? Said, hey, you should go on auditions or try this out? Because obviously that was a whole huge career for you as well.
Yeah, no, that's a complete lie.
Okay.
But I was already going to acting class actually when I met her. Actually, it was I was brought over to America from Australia by 2 managers. One was an American, one was an Australian guy, and at some point around 74, they were pushing me to the teen idol thing, and I was actually, they were thinking about me actually to replace David Cassidy in the Partridge Family when David left, which, you know, I'm glad it didn't happen, because I think I would have had a very short career. But so they were pushing me in that direction. So I separated from it. I called them up and said, this is not right. I'm leaving. And so one of them, the Australian guy, sued me. I had maybe, I don't know, $10 to my name. And he sued me for $250,000, right? So I couldn't play. I couldn't do anything. So I'm walking around the streets of Hollywood. I was living in Hollywood at the time. And his wife walked by, saw me, and said, what are you doing these days? And I said, not much. She said, why don't you come to acting class? So it was the guy that was suing me's wife that invited me to the class for the first time. So
are they still married?
No, they're not. He was actually divorcing his wife at that point too.
I see.
But it was, you know, a serendipitous thing, and it saved my life actually, because I had no friends at that point, and I fell into the community of actors. And I met Doug Davidson, who's on Young and the Restless still. I met Doug. He was like 19, and I was, you know, 24, and we've been best friends ever since.
He's in your video, right? He's in the Wall Will Fall video. I think I caught a glimpse of him. I'm a big Y&R fan.
He's actually going to be in Vance DeGeneres and I are going to do a second series of How to Write a Song, and Doug is going to be part of that too. He is the funniest guy. You don't see it on Young and Restless, but he has the most warped sense of humor of anybody I've ever met. He's going to be amazing in it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. So it's interesting. You've mentioned a couple of times the sort of kind of not being super comfortable with the teen idol thing or the heartthrob thing, but I want to get some more details before I ask my next question. How far did the Partridge Family discussion go? Because I didn't know about that. You
I actually forgot about it until I read some old article where it said, Rick Springfield is being considered for the role of Keith Partridge. I think I remember my old managers coming to me and saying, how would you feel about replacing, David on the Partridge Family? And back then I was thinking, because the Partridge Family had already, had its big day, and it was, starting to go down, and that's probably one of the reasons David left, but also to follow his music career. But so I thought, I don't know. Do I really want to jump on board, a sinking ship kind of thing? But it was very tempting, because I never had much money all through that time, and they were off there. I didn't know what they were offering, but I figured it had to be more than I was making at the moment. But I didn't say no. I think they just decided against it, and I think they closed the show. I don't know. I don't know if someone came in after him. I don't really remember that. I think
kind of place Keith Partridge. Well, there is one. I think I've talked with you about this before, but there is one 70s show that you were a part of, Mission Magic. I don't know how many people in America know about Mission Magic, but I sure do.
Not many.
They're going to know after this. So for those watching this who don't know, you were in, I believe it was like around the same time, like 73, you had your own cartoon show. This is way before Jesse's Girl, way before your US success. And it was so like Brady Kids. It was like, in space.
Yeah, but I met Quentin Tarantino at a party, and he saw me and he goes, Mission Magic. I used to love it. But then he was probably 6 years old, so a very different thing. But it was the conversation originally. I met with the Disney guys, some of the Disney guys who drew Fantasia. Yellow Submarine had just happened, and that's what they were talking about. They were going, we're going to do like something really different with like Yellow Submarine and some great animation. But after it went through the corporate mill, it turned out just another piece of Xerox crap.
It's hard to. I've seen an episode online. It does have that. It very much looks like the Brady Kids or Scooby Doo, but maybe on a budget.
Same artist, same mouth moving, head not moving, same guys that did all the voices. It's my voice. And the only cool thing about it was that they wanted me to write a song every week. So it was great discipline for me to write a song about what the episode was about. And then I'd go in and record it, and I'd have to play all the instruments because, we had to get it done right away. But the songs are pretty crappy, but they're very pop, very, very pop teen kind of. There's a couple of good songs, but it was a tough schedule.
What was it about? How much did you talk with Quentin Tarantino about what was it he liked about? I know he likes that sort of stuff. Like he loves the Sabrina episode with Blow You, Kiss in the Wind, to Bewitched. Like this is kind of in his zone. But did you talk to him more about like how he even knew about the show and why you liked it?
No, I didn't. He just said it kind of in passing, and it scared me enough to not want to follow it up.
I could see you being in a Quentin film. He asked people.
I was ecstatic. I was going, wait, he was like one of the greatest directors, really. I think he's, one of the greatest directors ever. And so I was very flattered, but weirdly flattered because it wasn't a show that I was proud of. I mean, if he'd said, "Oh, I love your music," that would have been kind of more memorable. But saying I loved your really crappy cartoon show didn't have quite the same effect.
Do you know if he liked Hard to Hold?
I'm pretty sure he didn't go see it.
Hard to Hold. I remember that was a big deal when that movie came out.
Yeah, it was. It was, again, it was a horrible script. It was something I wish I hadn't done in retrospect. I got a good song out of it, Love Somebody, but that's about it. Know a lot of the young people who went and saw it. I mean, Richard Marx, who's a friend of mine, went and saw it. But he says he went because he took a girl he was trying to, make it with to the film. He said it wasn't bad because I'm always slamming it, saying, it was horrible. But I've tried to make it up for that. I mean, with Ricky and the Flash and True Detective and some decent writing. Writing on Hard to Hold is pretty horrendous.
There was a big deal that you did a nude scene at the time. I seem to recall there was some hubbub about whether the movie was going to be PG or R because obviously you had young fans. Do you remember anything about that, about the debate over how racy the film could be? Yeah.
There was actually one of them mentions was it was going to be an X-rated because because the sex scenes were so full on. They were thinking of making it, give it an X, so they had to, so of course, that they said, we're going to chop that. Now, there was no actual, I don't know how to say this on TV, no actual insertion of anything, but, it was pretty intense. So they cut it way back. So, someone accused me of having a body double, but that was me.
I didn't know that there. I mean, obviously, I never saw, the director's cut or whatever of Hard to Hold. How you can say it. How intense was this sex scene? Like, how long did you have to film it for? How many takes did you have to do? My mind thinks that it would be fun to do, but I've heard that doing sex scenes is actually like super awkward and weird and not fun.
Very, very awkward. First of all, there's probably 30 or 40 men and women standing around. I walked in. I just walked in completely naked, and I think the boom operator was a black guy, and I said, "Well, now you know it's true about white guys." So you have to break the ice at first because everybody's uncomfortable. I mean, even if you find someone attractive, them walking in naked is still like whoa. So and we had to get on the bed together, and it's I've done a couple of sex scenes in different things, and it's always uncomfortable at first, always. And there's no other way around it other than to walk in and go, oh, here it is. This is all I got.
Wasn't Patty Hansen in this movie? Not as your love interest, but she was in it, right? In the movie.
Yeah, she played a songwriting partner.
Was she with Keith Richards at that time? Dating him, or Keith Richards?
Yeah, actually Keith came down to the set because we actually, Patty and I got along really well. She's a fabulous girl. And I heard that Keith was, he said, "What's going on with you and the Springfield guy?" So he came down to the set to check me out, I think, is what the story is anyway. So it was great to meet him. I mean, of course, I was always been a big fan. I saw them. One great thing about growing up in Australia was we got all the English bands early because we listened to all the English. I mean, I saw the Beatles in 1964. I saw the Stones in 1965. Before they were even like super huge here. They were, huge from the very beginning in Australia and England and Europe. And I saw Yardbirds when Jimmy Page was still playing with them, and so a lot of great bands. I don't know. Got onto that. Oh, Keith.
Yes. So he checked you out, made sure that there was nothing going on.
That was what I heard. I don't know if it's absolutely true or he just wanted to come down and see the set or whatever. But yeah.
That's so funny. So I imagine the answer to my next question is not Hard to Hold or Mission Man Band, Mission Magic. Mission Man Band is a reality show I used to watch, which is a completely other thing. What is your favorite acting role?
Well, I like the weird ones. Obviously, the True Detective was so weird, people didn't even know it was me. I actually read a review that said I played this this freaky doctor, that does plastic surgery and shit. And they made me look like I'd had a facelift and comb my hair weirdly. And the review said, "Wow, whoever played Dr. Pittler has a serious acting career ahead of him." They didn't even know it was me.
Wow.
And I love playing the weird Rick Springfield on Californication was a lot of fun. Again, that's a sex scene. I mean, I saw photos of that, and my first thought was, I don't remember being in a porn movie. I mean, it's really that's full on. That was full on sex stuff. And of course, being in Ricky and the Flash with Meryl Streep was exciting, and being directed by Jonathan Demme, who I think is was one of the greats.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing video director. It's interesting because you talked about the True Detective thing, and I'm wondering, since you've talked about how you didn't really always sit well with the heartthrob thing, was there something kind of like freeing, like liberating about not looking like your, very recognizable self, about kind of disguising yourself for a role like that?
Well, I played Rick Springfield in Californication, but it was totally weird. He did blow. He was egotistical. He was trying to have sex with every woman he could find. He's carrying hookers out, as they pass out. But it was great because that's what the show is about. But the True Detective one was also great because, I like to hide. Actors become actors partly because, they want to sometimes hide behind another character. I certainly do. So I love the weird ones. They're more fun for me than, I've done the father and the boyfriend and that kind of thing in the 90s and that, but so I'm very happy to do as weird as I want. I played a murderous priest on American Horror Story.
Yes.
I cut people up and, it was fun.
Well, since you played a weird version of yourself, there's a dog barking, by the way, which I think is very appropriate for this interview. It's not my dog. I have a cat, but hopefully it's all right.
That's great. That's great stuff. You can't get that in a studio.
That dog knows I'm doing this interview with you and is excited. He heard us talking about Ron and ran over.
He wants to be on TV.
Since we're talking about you playing yourself or, a weird version of yourself, and I mentioned that you did this, your autobiography, your memoir, Late at Night, was like a really, harrowing book. It's an obvious question to ask since we're on the subject of films. Is there going to be a Rick Springfield biopic? And can you play yourself? You can just play yourself.
No, I would never play myself. That would be super weird. I don't know. I mean, I didn't I started writing it, and I realized what a actually pretty amazing life I've had. I been traveling ever since I was 9 years old, and there's a lot has happened in my life, and I talked a lot about depression and that, and I only did that because it's part of my life. I'm not ashamed of it, but I've been, people picked up on that, and I've actually been asked to like talk at groups, talk to groups about it. I actually won an award for being depressed.
Like best depression?
Yeah, I know. It was for erasing the stigma kind of thing, because I was I made they talked about it a lot once I wrote about it in the book.
Well, was that therapeutic for you then to write that book?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it was therapeutic to write it, but once I'd written it, because I wrote it myself without a ghostwriter, so it was very therapeutic to remember and write, and I really enjoyed the writing process. But when I sent it to my publisher and started to get cold feet, and actually called them up and said, I don't want this book released, because it's very revealing. And I've read a couple since, and they're I don't know how to put it.
Not as much.
Image polishing, not a lot of warts showing. I thought you told the complete truth, and I did. I told the complete truth. So, it was so I got cold feet, and I called them up, and they talked me off the ledge, and I released it. I'm glad they did, because it did well, and it's opened up a whole. I don't necessarily want to be the depression poster boy, but I'm happy to talk about it and say there's nothing to be ashamed of, and offer my what I do to try and alleviate it,
You were pretty early on that, because now I think there's less stigma. I mean, there's always going to be some stigma, but there's less, in that there are more people are willing to talk about it, about whatever they're going through. A lot of celebrities, A-list celebrities, even people like Prince Harry will talk about it, and Katy Perry, the list, Lady Gaga. But it doesn't seem like this, even though it was only 10 years ago when your book came out, 10 years ago, a lot has changed. It feels like you were kind of one of the earliest ones.
I think I was, and I think that's why people picked up on it. So I thought they'd pick up on the sex on the road, which I talk a little bit about, but I thought they'd jump all over that, but nobody did. They all talked about the depression thing. A couple of people were interested in my time in Vietnam during 1968, 69. But most people talked about, were interested in talking about the depression. And a lot of fans since then have come up and said, thanks for that. I suffer from it. And, thanks for making it, okay to talk about,
What was the toughest part when you were writing that book? The part that was the toughest for you to revisit in your life, or maybe one of the parts that made you think, I don't want this that made you place that call to the publisher? Like, what were the darkest parts for you?
I don't know. It's hard to say really what I think. Just it was a whole revelation of my life. Kind of like showing everybody your underwear drawer,
Well, there's one thing I wanted to ask about on a little bit of a lighter note. A lot of people ask you about the story behind Jesse's Girl. It's well known at this point, and you and I have talked about before, but I had never talked to you about the song, the Bruce song. They Call Me Bruce song.
Bruce.
Is that based on a true story?
Yeah, I mean, it's not completely. My mom never confused me with Springsteen, but actually it was triggered by I was at an acting audition, an acting audition, right? And I went and did my part, and there was a girl there I recognized from somewhere. I'd met her, right? And as I'm walking out the door, she goes, Bruce. So that kind of triggered it. And then I made up a lot of the story just to make it funny. But yeah, I wrote that back in '76. That's an old one.
Well, I was trying to, I dig back to all the oldies. Mission Magic, Bruce, we haven't even talked about your glam rock stuff because you know, that was the photos of you back in the early 70s. The outfits were on point.
They are.
The hair, the glam rock looked good. Do you have any famous? Sorry, go ahead.
The platform shoes, yeah. I saw someone sent me an old article the other day, and boy, I wore checks with stripes, with it was the days of the peacock.
It was a good look. It's just funny because I think probably a lot of people in the U.S. associate you more with the 80s because Jesse's Girl and General Hospital. But, I'm fascinated by all the 70s stuff you did because, like, that stuff's good. But is there anything else as we bring things back to the present date? You didn't answer my question. Is there going to be a biopic? There has to be.
Oh, no, I don't know. I don't know an answer to that one.
I mean, are you open to it?
Yeah, sure. I'm also writing my second novel, and that would make a great movie too. I always picture it. It's actually called World on Fire, and it has a lot of similarities to what's going on right now, which is very weird. I'm editing it through what's going on. It's very dark humor. It's absolutely dark humor. I mean, there's some awful moments in it, but basically it's dark humor.
What is it about? Are you able to divulge?
I am not. You gotta read it. Actually, it's coming out on Audible because a lot of people listen to books now. And I'll be narrating it. So I'm just finishing up the final editing now.
Oh, did you ever do an Audible of Late at Night?
Yes, I did. I did that, and I also did Magnificent Vibration, which was my first novel. I did the audiobook for both those because I have the studio and I know the story, and The
reason I asked that question is I'm wondering if it was weird. I can imagine it would be to be reading your life story, and as you said, there's lots of warts in it. There's lots of very confessional things in it. And to have to read it out loud into a microphone? Yeah,
I had to stop a lot of times. I got emotional about it, and I had to say, "Hang on, I gotta take a few minutes here." Yeah, it was definitely an experience, kind of rereading it and reading it out loud to my engineer was in here, and a guy from Simon & Schuster was in there to make sure I pronounced the words right.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there that I would love to see a biopic. If you don't want to play yourself, that's fine. I don't know if you have any ideas in mind who would be good if you don't want to play yourself, but obviously it's the role you were born to play. But as to tie it all together, as we're talking about, you say you don't want to be the poster boy for depression, but we are in some crazy times. And The Wall Will Fall addresses that. Like, do you have any advice to people who might be struggling right now about how they can persevere?
Well, actually, I have a friend who has a couple of kids, and he says we play the video of The Wall Will Fall every morning before work and before school, and it says it gets us so up. He said we sometimes play it a couple of times during the day, but I'm not suggesting that would work for everybody. But I deal with it with meditation. Meditation has helped me. Certainly, I do Skype, Zoom with fans. We have a Zoom happy hour with my band. And connecting that way is really helps.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to try that. I'm going to watch The Wall Will Fall. I don't have a dog, but I do have a cat, and a snake. So pets are
as long as they'll let you. Some of them won't let you.
My cat's kind of dog-like, and she's black and white as well. Maybe I'll put a little shirt on her. She'll have a really small collar.
Really small collar.
I'll be like, it needs to be 6 inches around. But thank you so much, Rick. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. I'm glad things are going well for you, and I always love your stories. And hopefully next time we'll do this in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope so. My God.
All right. Thank you so much.